Welcome to Maker Camp.
Sphero is going to be with us today. It's an adorable little programmable rolling ball. It's designed to be fun and amazing. We're going to be talking with the co-founder of Sphero, Ian Bernstein.
And we're going to be checking out the maker behind the hamster bot, Casey Duckering, and today's project, the Rolly Bot.
So let's get ready to make something great.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Camp Director Paloma.
I'm Camp Director Sam. As always, we want to hear from you, so post your questions during the show.
And we've had so much fun this week with our affiliates on, and if you're an affiliate and you'd like to appear on air with us in the future, go to the affiliate information page and fill out the form.
But before we move any further, let's check out the counselors and the daily project.
Hi everybody, I'm Counselor Sandra.
And I'm Brian. Here's what you guys have been working on this week. A lot of food pun projects are showing up, like Joe's Pie Pie, and Kim's Octopi, and her Rolls Royce. Those look fun and delicious.
Yeah, I love the names. I love a good pun.
And the makers over at Hyde Square Task Force are making electric hats. Those are pretty cool. We should have a couple of those in the lab.
Yeah, get on it, Brian.
I'll do that right after this. And the teardowns continue at the teams at Warren Township Library. So it looks like they're pulling apart computers and things like that. That's fun.
That's fantastic. Good skill to learn.
I've had a few desks covered in components like that.
And so we want to see your projects this summer. So take pictures and videos of what you're working on and post them to the Make Community page. Shows what you've made, what you've learned, and what you want to make next.
The daily project is the Duster Bot. This project comes to us from Randy Seraphan, and we have him with us to describe the project for you. Tell us about the Duster Bot.
Hi. Hi, this is Randy. It's actually the Rolly Bot. So it's a little bristlebot guy which goes in the ball, and unlike normal bristlebots which just sort of go around, it actually rolls in many different directions. So it kind of looks like it's this ball moving around on its own, and it's a fun little project to make.
Yeah, it looks great. So how did you get started making robots?
So I've worked with Instructables for a long time, and I had a coworker who makes a lot of things, but they never work with electronics. And they kept saying, "I'd love to do this, but robots are hard." And they kept saying this over and over. And I, after a while, got tired of hearing it. So I said, "I bet I can make one in 10 minutes." They said, "I bet you can't." I said, "I bet I can." And I thought it over for a little while, and Rollybot ensued. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Now, did you do a lot of electronics study on your own before you made the bot?
So basically I have no background in engineering or anything like that. I started college with 3D computer animation, and I was doing that. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool, but I wish I could just animate the real world. And so I kind of looked into that a little bit, and a series of coincidences happened, and I just went off and I learned electronics in college, and I've been doing it ever since.
Well, it looks great, and I bet our campers are going to have so much fun building that. I can't wait to see the pictures showing up on the community page. And I know you have a lot of other projects up on Instructables, so campers, be sure to check those out. And thank you so much for being with us and sharing that awesome Rollybot with us. And later in the show, we're going to be joined by Ian Bernstein from Sphero. But first, who are we going to have on, Sam?
But first, we have Casey Duckering, who's made his own little rolling robot. And I believe that we have a clip of that to show for you.
Looks great.
Very cool, very smooth.
I love that we started with the Rollybot, and now we're moving on to
the hamster bot.
The next hamster bot.
Yep. So Casey, why don't you tell us a little bit about the hamster bot and some of the prototyping that led you to that design?
Yeah. So my initial thought when I was coming up with ideas to build it was basically different mechanical design from all other rolling robots I'd seen before. So this one actually, instead of something inside, like either rotating around an axis or walking along like a hamster. It instead has 3 sets of weights that it slides linearly to move the center of mass instead of something rolling inside. So I have a video of like those parts moving. Let me show you.
Yeah, let's check out that video. Oh, fascinating. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but that looks great.
Yeah, that's a weird, neat design.
The best designs usually are a little bit weird.
Yeah.
So you're coming to us from UC Berkeley. What are you studying there?
I'm studying a double major in electrical engineering, computer science, and mechanical engineering.
So, you're taking it easy. Yeah, just a few easy classes. Yeah, I'm actually studying robotics engineering over at Santa Cruz, so maybe we'll have to have a battle of the Bay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been working on this kind of a project, and what inspired you to really kind of take this on?
Since like middle school age, I've always been interested in like engineering and things, and just got interested in like initially like building my own things in the garage, and then eventually moved to electronics and Arduino, and just went from there, getting more powerful microcontrollers and actuators and things like that, and just learning more at Berkeley.
Great. We see stories like that from our campers all the time, where they just start with Arduinos and then really just work their way up and create something awesome. So I'm definitely glad to have you here showing how you've gotten this far and your road for inspiration.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Casey, thank you very much for being with us. Stick around because we're going to have some questions for you from some campers in a bit. But now it's time to bring on our next guest, Quinn Entire. Quinn's a fan and a friend of Make. He's shown off his own robot projects at the White House, and he's an amazing little dude. So Quinn, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for letting me be here. It's really cool on Maker Camp.
You're always allowed to come on and hang out with us, Quinn. We love you around here. So Quinn, why don't you show us what you brought today?
So this right here is the Fuzzbot. It has a little tail, and so this bot has an ultrasonic sensor on the front and the Swiffer sweeper on the back. So basically, it just rolls around your house, and it avoids obstacles such as like tables and chairs and stuff, and it dusts as it goes.
Very cool. So how did you get the idea for that?
Well, I actually got this little robot chassis right here. It's called the Zumobot kit, and I got that for Christmas, and I prototyped something out with Legos when I was little and trying to make a Swiffer kind of duster thing, but it was not easy with Legos. But after a while, I started thinking about that again, and that's how the Fuzzbot came about. And it's super simple and easy to make.
Yeah, that's great. So for any of our campers who maybe haven't found out about how awesome you are yet, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've done?
Well, I'm a maker. I make a lot of Arduino projects, lots of electronics. I teach classes in Arduino, and I have my own company selling little electronic bits and kits for some of your projects. Here's the logo, Keep Techno.
Yeah, I still have the sticker you gave me from Maker Faire. It's in my purse right now.
Oh, cool.
So Quinn, why don't you tell us a little bit about, maybe give us some words for inspiration for our campers who might be a little scared to try making their first robot, especially one that uses some sensing technologies and movement.
Well, definitely just dive right in. A lot of the resources are available online. I mean, the Arduino is well documented, super easy to use, and the coding is pretty straightforward. And the hardware, just learn how to solder, and you'll be good. So just go for your project.
That's some great advice, Quinn. Thank you so much for sharing that. And campers, be sure to check out QTechno because it's a great website. Even if it's just you're looking for website design, it's a great website. But also there's some amazing content on there. So campers, familiarize yourself with this person because you're going to be hearing a lot from him. And I'm very excited to bring on our next guest. our next guest, robots started from like square bodies and pinch your hands and just very, very blocky, but they've evolved to something that are a lot more friendly and cute. And one of the cutest robots out there is the Sphero, which is programmable, interactive, and super fun. So we're going to bring on one of the co-founders of Sphero, Ian Burns. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think we wanted to start off with a clip of the Sphero to give the campers some idea of what we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and show that.
Wow, that's such a great video. Those are so cool. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So, Ian, why don't you tell us, like, what was your inspiration for the Sphero, and what kind of puzzle were you trying to solve with this?
So I mean, I got involved in robotics when I was 12 years old, and I can go into more into that a little bit later. But I'd always been building robots, and really, I was sitting around one night playing with my iPhone, and I was like, "Here's this crazy computing device. Like, why can't I use this to control physical things?" And that was the initial idea. And there was stuff out there, but it was pretty cumbersome, and I wanted to make it easy, something like my dad could figure out. And I met my co-founder, Adam. We started prototyping some stuff, like super cheesy, like controlling lights, opening my garage door. We made all these little videos, and we ended up getting into this program called Techstars that helps entrepreneurs sort of kickstart their companies. And once we were in that program, we thought of like hundreds of different things we could control along the lines of more of those obvious things. And 3 in the morning one night, I was like, we just need something simple, like something I can just throw on the table and it does something cool. And Adam was like, well, what about a marble? And I was like, well, what about a robot ball? Thinking back to this beam robotic ball I built when I was like 14 years old, like probably in the late 1990, probably like 1997 or something, and it's actually really similar to the one that you guys have on your webpage on makercamp.com. I noticed the beam robot ball. It was actually really similar to that. So that's what I thought back to, and it just sort of progressed from there.
Cool. Wonderful. Do you think you could walk campers through some of the prototypes that led you to this point?
Sure. I mean, so obviously that was like sort of the first prototype, that beam one that I built when I was a kid. And from there, really, like, I start from scratch, right? So the beam thing, I think probably in the same tutorial, you get these shells. The shell is like a Christmas ornament. You can get a Hobby Lobby, and you cut off the little tab on it. And so that's what we used for our initial prototype shells. And then the inside was pretty much just like, we didn't have a 3D printer or anything like that back when we started about 4 years ago. So the inside was like, I straightened out paper clips. So the whole inside structure was made out of paper clips. And we had made a little circuit board on our own that you can make through like Seed Studios and stuff like that. But it fit inside the shell, and my co-founder Adam wrote this crude Android app to make it drive around, and it barely worked, but we could see that it would work with more, when we put more effort into it.
That's a good point to be when you know that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, so speaking about the design, I mean, Sphero is amazingly well designed from how you control it all the way through like playing with it, the user experience, and just the ball itself. It's just such a beautifully well done design. How did you come to that design, and like also how did you start with robots and like just go tell us cool stuff.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I started when I was 12. My dad heard about this like robotics competition that was going on. It was actually a beam robotics competition, and we decided to go check it out for the first day or something. And we got there and ended up having this workshop as part of the competition where they just had like electronics and kits and stuff. And I ended up building my first robot and like went all 4 days and was just totally hooked after that. Like at home, I just had piles of VCRs and TVs and stuff I'd taken apart to get parts out of. And from there, I mean, I started a website, beam-online.com, to try to teach other people how to do it. I ended up building some robots for some museums. And then in college, I studied electrical engineering before I dropped out to start a company. But that company, I did a web design company and then evolved into getting back to what I really like to do is robotics. So, I mean, I built like probably 100 different robots. This is sort of the evolution of what Sphero ended up in. So this is Sphero 2.0 on the inside.
Oh, cool.
We had to jam a lot of stuff in there. There's a little bearing on top, so this piece is spring-loaded, so it keeps pressure on these little rubber tires that help it drive around. We got the motors, we got some batteries right in the middle, the circuit board with the LEDs on top. We got some Bluetooth. There's a little main processor on here, and then the sensors. So we have a gyro and accelerometer. And then, of course, on the bottom, we have the coil for the wireless induction charging that goes through the shell.
Ooh, that's fantastic. Now, we've played around with one a little bit at the office, and I always assumed that it was some kind of vaguely magic thing happening inside. So I'm glad that you can confirm that, yes, it is definitely a bunch of brilliance packed into one little package.
Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, it's cool that we have a whole engineering team behind us right now that can, super smart firmware engineers and mechanical engineers and stuff like that. But we, like my co-founder and I, we're sort of the tinkerers. Like, I mean, I have tons of projects around here. Like, we're 3D printing, and of course, like our new products, that's all 3D printed. Like the inspiration for Sphero, we took the Sphero PCB. Of course, because we're makers, we make our products pretty hackable. So
Nice.
like you can pull off the PCB, and we can use this, and we 3D printed instead of the two wheels like in line for Sphero. We took the motors out and we put them end to end. We printed off some bigger wheels, and we put the Sphero board on there, and that was our prototype for our new product, Ollie.
Very cool. I love that. I love that it's so hackable and it's so easy to like tinker with it. It looks so great. And I think my favorite thing about it is that it's really cute. Like it's just got this like adorable personality to it. What do you think is what do you think about this product makes it so accessible and so adorable and fun and full of personality?
It's definitely approachable, right? I mean, a lot of the other robots I built, like, if you kind of sneak up behind somebody and they turn around and look at it, they'll like scream and like jump back. But Sphero, like a kid's reaction immediately is to just run over and like pick it up, or people like want to kick it, which it's a good thing it's really strong. But yeah, I mean, I think the personality kind of came from the mechanics. Like when you hold it in your hand, it like on the sort of engineering side, it's self-leveling, so it's using its accelerometer and its gyros to try to keep the mechanism inside level. But when you're holding it and moving it around, and it's self-leveling, it kind of feels like it's alive. So I think there's a lot of little things in there that make it more like a character.
Yeah, it definitely does have that personality, and when I was holding it, I was just like, this is weird and alien, but awesome and adorable. And then we were just rolling it around the office, and it was definitely very cool. And you talk about making it like hackable and easy to kind of mess around with. Have you seen any? Do you have any favorite ways that people have modded your product or used it in a way that you didn't quite think they would?
I mean, people have done a lot of interesting accessories. So 3D printing different stuff. Like one that I made, for instance, would be this guy. So I was like, the charger's interesting, but like, what if it looks even cooler when it's sitting on your desk charging? So I 3D printed this thing, and the charger actually just snaps into the top. So you don't have to modify the charger at all, and then Sphero becomes the head. So there's things like that that are pretty cool. We've done some pranks, like we found that Sphero, or my co-founder found Sphero was about the same size as an orange. So he peeled an orange, and he put the orange peel around it, and he hot glued it on, and then we took it to the grocery store, and we put it in with the oranges, and like when old ladies would go over to like get the oranges, we'd like wiggle it around and like drive it onto the floor. And they were like freaked out, so that was kind of fun. And then college students have done sophisticated hacks, like they've actually sort of mapped out where everything is on here, and they put their own infrared emitters and receivers, so infrared light, so that other Spheros, so they made a few of them, and then the Spheros could actually talk to each other and follow each other. So you could drive one, and then the other ones could follow it like a little Sphero snake, things like that. So it's been cool to see those more sophisticated hacks as well.
That's terrific. Swarm bots are always a fascinating thing. That's a very cool package to put them in.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, we're always like, here's another one, right? Like we put instead of just the wheels, we put two sort of hubs for a little track that Adam molded out of silicon. So we made these little like silicon molds. We actually molded the tracks for like this new form factor. We do stuff like, we're molding stuff like this in resins with foam on the inside. So we're always hacking on fun stuff here.
Wow, I love it. I love that there's so much fun and excitement that comes from the Sphero itself. It's awesome. And driving it is really simple. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how you interact with the Sphero?
Sure. So sort of the basic app you download is you go onto your app store for Android or Windows or Apple. You download the Sphero app, and there's this whole storyline around where Sphero came from. He came from this planet Spheron, and he crashes into your bedroom, and then you get to name him or her. From there, we have all these little missions you can go on to help Sphero. You can give him little dances, and you can level him up and do all kinds of fun stuff. We have other apps that we've created for doing augmented reality. We're actually so this is our augmented reality character that we 3D printed, but you can use your app, look through your phone's camera at Sphero, and then this character in 3D gets placed over it. So you'll see this little beaver walking along the ground instead of Sphero. So we do some stuff like that. And then we're also doing a lot of stuff with, if you want to learn to program, you can use Sphero. So we've created this app called Macro Lab, where you take your Sphero, you open the Macro Lab app, and then visually you can just add in different commands, like go drive at 45 degrees at half speed, and then you can put a little delay in there for, say, a second, and then drag in another command that's a stop command, and you can program Sphero to do different shapes, different dances. So we've had people, with that app on Android, you can control 7 of them at once. So we've had people sync it up to music and do these elaborate dances. And then you can also program it, so you can download another app called Basic and program Sphero in the basic programming language. So you can do more sophisticated things, and then of course you can program your own iOS or Android app for it. You can also program it from an Arduino over Bluetooth. You can program it from all the web languages, Node.js, Ruby, Kids Ruby, Python, all these different ways. So we try to make it as open as possible.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you have that philosophy towards the thing, because that's really is terrific, and that's what we're about, is empowering makers. So thanks for helping us do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how I learned, right? I learned as a kid, just kind of hacking on this stuff and people helping me out, and it's cool how you guys are helping people make stuff easier, especially with Arduinos and 3D printers. It's cool how easy it is to make stuff now.
Yeah, it's just a completely new age. But we couldn't do it without the companies like you really allowing us to take your stuff apart and totally mess with it. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us. And it's just, you've been awesome, and so have all of our guests. And we are going to have a ton of camper questions for you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, on the question stuff, you said you had the maker community. I'm, happy to answer questions on there as well if we don't get to some more today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so campers, be sure to ask as many questions as you can. Keep them busy. So post your questions on the community page, and we'll get to them right after this.
Welcome back to Rolling Robot Day at Maker Camp. We're here with Sphero co-founder Ian Bernstein. Sandra, let's take a look at some of those camper questions.
The first question we have is for Ian. You mentioned Beam a couple of times. What are Beam bots and how do they relate to the Sphero?
So Beam was sort of conceived by this guy, Mark Tilden, who used to work at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And the idea is it stands for biology, electronics, aesthetics, and mechanics. And it's non-computer based, so it's all analog, so you don't have to write any code. And they want to use a lot of scrap material. So the Beam philosophy is to not go to some store and just buy your resistors and your capacitors and stuff, but go out and take broken cassette players and get the motors out and get as much recycled materials as you can to build beautiful new robots. So they're generally pretty simple. Maybe simple to build, but maybe they can do more sophisticated behaviors because they're analog and they can sort of adapt to different things without you having to program in every special case.
That's great, and I think that's totally aligns with a lot of what the campers on our community are doing, playing around with making some of their first robots. So campers, definitely look into that as a way to take your next step. And you know what? I'd love to hear another question from our campers.
So this question is for Quinn. What projects are you working on now, and what else have you programmed your robot to do?
Well, I'm working on, well, let me show you this robot. So this is similar to the Fuzzbot. It's basically a Fuzzbot without the fuzz and the ultrasonic sensor, but it has an NFC shield on it, and the antenna is at the bottom. This is what I took to the White House Maker Faire, and so this is the controller, which is 3D printed, but on the inside, it's just an Arduino and an XP shield and some NeoPixels and a joystick. But the cool part about it is that it's remote control. So let me show. So when you turn the robot on.
Let's move it down just a little bit more. We don't want to miss this.
All right. So then, when you have the controller, you can control it going forward or backwards, left or right. And the other cool thing is that with the NFC tags, it will count how many points you get. So it's basically a robotic obstacle course that I made, and so when you take the NFC tag and you go over it, then you can see you get a point. And it's just an automatic point counter system, and then you see how many points you can get in 30 seconds. So that's what else you can do with robots, the Fuzzbot, and I'll be posting that on Instructables soon, so other people can make it too.
Awesome. That
looks great. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Thanks.
I bet people went crazy for it at the White House Maker Faire. All right, let's get another camper question. I'm having fun with these.
So I have a question for everyone. What's the first project that got you really excited about building robots?
Good. Why don't we start with Casey Duckering over at Berkeley?
My first project. Let's see. It's hard. It was a long time ago. Let's talk about one of my projects. So, it was basically a RC car I hacked to control by Arduino. So, hooked up my phone to the Arduino to get some communication, used some did some basic computer vision to drive the car around with my phone mounted on top. I showed this off at one of the maker fairs a couple years ago.
Great. I love when your first project is an Arduino build.
That wasn't my first project, but that was, yeah.
Sounds like it was a lot of fun though. And did you have your own, like, what did you use to control it?
Oh, it was autonomous, so it would follow a shape.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, autonomous robots are definitely a challenge, but they're a fun challenge to tackle for sure. Let's hop over to Quinn. Quinn, what was your first robot that really got you into this path?
Well, I did a lot of Lego Mindstorms at first, with the NXT robots, and so I built one of those walking robots. So that was basically my first robot, and then the first Arduino robot that I built was the Fuzzbot.
Very cool. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of people getting into robots through Lego, and we were very lucky to have them last week. So if you missed it, go check out that hangout when we talked with Lego. But yeah, it's a great way to get into it. And Ian, what about you? What was your first project that got you into robots?
It was actually.
Oh, unfortunately, it looks like we're having a little trouble hearing you there. We had a
solar
little.
panel.
Oh wait, can you start again? We had a little bit of a shaky start there.
Sure. So it's called a solar roller. So it has a little solar panel on it, and essentially it was half of a cassette player. So the cassette player is like plastic. It was cut in half, and then the solar panel was like hot glued on top and had little wheels, so it charged the thing up, and when it got enough power, it would boost a little bit and move until then it would sit there and charge up again. So yeah, it's called it the Slug, probably because it was really slow. And I was just looking on my website, my old website, beam-online.com. There's like a My Robots link at the top, and then it's under solar rollers. That was my very first robot.
Very nice. Well, I'm happy that you called it the Slug because that is the UC Santa Cruz mascot. So plug to my school there. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. And how can young makers get motivated to do stuff with the Sphero and have fun with it?
I mean, I think so. We have this new program called Spark, where we're going into schools to teach kids programming and stuff and math, and it's just fun. I mean, we use it. This app, Macro Lab, that we're using in schools is actually an app that we developed internally for our own engineers. So the idea was we wanted anybody in our company to be able to quickly prototype an idea, like what happens if Sphero drives for 1 second and then does like a little dance. So our app developers made this app, and we used it within our company a lot, and we're like, well, maybe this could be fun for people outside. So we ended up releasing it in the App Store, but that's what evolved into our education program. So I think if they wanted to get involved in programming Sphero, that's the easiest, right? Take a Sphero, connect it to your phone, download the Macro Lab app, and in a couple minutes you can be programming Sphero.
Wow, that sounds so easy, and it's great to see that we're getting more and more programming into the schools. This year has been really filled with great ways to get started even with like more complicated technology. So I've been really, really excited about that. And thank you so much for having a program like that. That's a really, really great thing to do. And also, just generally thank you for everything that you do, because it's really awesome. And I really want to thank everybody who was on today. Randy, Casey, Quinn, and Ian, you are all awesome robotic people, and I am happy to share that passion with you and to be able to share it with our campers. So thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your inspiration and your cool projects.
Yep, and be sure to stay tuned tomorrow when we're having a polymer party with Sugru. We'll be meeting the inventor of it, Jane Nigel-Quinting. It'll be wonderful.
I'm so excited for that one. And campers, if you were inspired by anything you saw today, remember, do try this at home. Goodbye, campers.
Take care.